Okay, so establishing who the 13 council members, in terms of the fact that the Illuminati is run in a 13 council way by 13 individuals of 13 families of old money, is to know that they orchestrate their rule. And so they orchestrate in terms of how long wars should last, who should win, and how the outcome of these wars shall affect the countries involved. They orchestrate political events, and they orchestrate basically how these things are to be unfolded. And so how do they do this? Is the answer is the fact that they control all the money. And so they control the money basically through what is known as old money. And by having that old money and centuries of developing it from rule and spoils and things like that, the elitists ended up owning the Federal Reserve System. And they also own major international banks. And they own all central banks. So this will give the Illuminati the power to regulate the currency exchange and to regulate interest rates and regulate money supply levels, into which regulating currency affects the economy. So if you want to know where the power lies, the saying "follow the money" is very true. Whoever owns that money, whoever sits on top of that money, owns the nations of the earth. And so these Illuminati members have all the money. They control all the gold. They have all the resources. There's no country in the world that they did not plant the money there. So the United States isn't rich because it's special. It's rich because the Illuminati placed a lot of central money inside that country, giving it the power it has. And so how do they do this? They do it basically through banks. You see it every day. The most powerful banks that they control in terms of the money is this Chase Manhattan, Citibank, Morgan Guaranty Trust, and American Express. And so, and this is just to say them, but it's many banks. And so these banks serve the Illuminati because the Illuminati owns those banks. And so the people who are CEOs over the banks, they are usually family members to these Illuminati. It is the Rothschild family and the Rockefeller family that are the two most powerful families in the Illuminati. They bid right now for control, into which there's competition in the Illuminati family structure, but they're on the same page. There's no divide and conquer there. So the Rothschilds and the Rockefeller are the two most powerful, and they're the two most controlling centers in the Illuminati regime. They're the two most powerful families on Earth. And so what are the goals of the Illuminati? And so that's to create a one world government and a new world order, with them on top to rule the world, and to which they are trying to establish a universal monarchy. It is a global monarchy. And this goal is to be the sole controller of Earth and the sole controller of the solar system. So their vision is to create basically a universal government with a universal monarch who has control of the universe. This is how they see it. And the population within this government would most likely be reduced to a state of slavery and fascism, because they would be dictated over from there. And so it's to get absolute control over everything. And so this is a very old goal of theirs. And so to understand it fully, you must realize that this goal isn't of a kind that's supposed to be obtained within one person's lifetime. It has been a goal that is slowly to be accomplished over a long period of time. So this is a goal that for hundreds and hundreds of years has been seething and has been growing, and it develops over periods of time. So the goal has been planned away from the public's prying eyes to be revealed at the proper time frames of mankind. So in secrecy within the secret societies, all secret societies with secret grades of initiation are owned and controlled by the Illuminati. So every secret society, from the top of them all the way to your local coven, are either directly or indirectly controlled by the Illuminati, and Freemasonry is the best known occult that is controlled by them. It is the most prolific or controversial. It is the most well known. So the persons who control the societies are the Illuminati. And Illuminati are occultists, they're Luciferians. They wouldn't call themselves Satanists, even though they are. They practice black magic, they practice white magic. Their god is Lucifer, who is the light bearer. And by occult practices, they manipulate and they influence the masses or the population, which is you, me, and the people around you. And it doesn't matter if you believe in what I'm saying or not. It doesn't matter if you debate this or not. The truth of the matter is they know who they are. They exist right now. They're present among you, and they couldn't care less if you believe in God or Lucifer or whatnot. They believe in their goals. They believe in who they are. They believe in what they are, and what they believe in, they take it very, very seriously. So seriously, in fact, that they're willing to sacrifice all of you for what all of you can't seem to accept. So they have controlled world history. And you got to get a logistics on just how much they control, how much they brainwashed people, and to which they have rewritten history in the eyes of the people. So they have controlled world history. They have control over how people perceive religion. They have control over the media, what you watch on the 9 o'clock news. They have control over the world economy. And for the last 7,000 years, their bloodlines go back thousands and thousands of years. And they are very careful with keeping those bloodlines pure from generation to generation. That's why all ruling families and ruling members are related to each other. And so the only way to do so is by interbreeding. So it's this main family that interbreeds with other ruling families to consume the family line into theirs, thus creating one ruling family among different cultures. So their power lies in doing this, and their power also lies in the occult, in Satan. And so they utilize that religion into their inspiration. And so within this occult, they operate economy. Money creates power. And so they know that the more wealth they can give, the more power it gives to those that they seek to use to do their bidding. So the Illuminati own all the international banks. They own the oil businesses, the most powerful businesses of industry and trade. They infiltrate politics, and they own most governments. And an example of this is the American election for presidency. It is no secret that the candidate who gets the most sponsorship in the form of money wins the election, as this gives the power to uncreate the opposed candidate. And who sponsors the right candidate? The Illuminati do. So more often than not, they sponsor both sides to have a game going. They decide who will be the next president, and they see to it that their man wins, even if they have to cheat like they did in Florida with President George W. Bush's supposed win over Al Gore, even though in the eyes of the nation many people knew that the election was a front. So most president campaigns are also financed with the illegal money, which is to say it's financed with drug money, which is understandable if you know that the Illuminati run the drug trade industry, and they use that money to fluctuate within these kind of campaign games. So elections are really not necessary. But they let us vote so we can have a game going. And by letting us, they pretend to follow the U.S. Constitution. And so the Illuminati are the top players on the international playground, basically belonging to the 13 of the wealthiest families in the world, and they are the men who really rule the world from behind the scenes. And they are mostly men, because it's the men who actually rule. They have a very racist view toward women, and so they would never let them rule in a high position like that. So they are the real decision makers who make up the rules for presidents and kings and queens and prime ministers and sheiks and governments to follow. And they are often held from public scrutiny because they control the public's perception and view. So and as well as their courts and law enforcement officers. So as their action can't stand any scrutiny. They are connected by bloodlines going back thousands and thousands of years in time, and they're very careful in keeping all of that pure.